CTV's W5.
It wasn't worth the money. They sold them on, just lies, basically.
Misleading sales tactics and questionable contracts.
Why are you deceiving old people?
I need justice. My family needs justice.
Leaves victims financially devastated.
I can't believe I was duped and roped into this so easily.
And
I want to do things that a lot of people don't want to do.
That's who he is. He's the dog in the game.
a Canadian basketball star becomes one of the most hated players in the game.
Brooks to the rack. Coming with some nasty.
Here is Avery Haynes.
Welcome to W5. This may have happened to you. You get a knock on the door from a salesperson trying to get you to buy a new home service like an air conditioner or a furnace. Their pitch is often similar. You can rent the equipment for a low monthly fee. But the customers who take them up on those offers often find renting will cost them astronomical fees. And as John Woodward investigates, in some cases, their homes are taken hostage.
This was a family book that we made to commemorate my dad, Lamel George Ricketts, his passing on November 28, 2018. That's him.
Diana Ricketts' house is full of mementos that remind her of her dad. He died from a heart attack at 81 years old. Before then, he had worked as a service technician at a Toronto YMCA for almost 3 decades.
He would work every Christmas volunteering because he wanted everybody else to have Christmas with their families.
Yeah.
So he was very selfless at work and always had the biggest smile.
A big smile and a bigger heart, Lamel welcomed everyone into his home.
He really cared about the community.
Absolutely. You were welcome to come in and open the door and have yourself a drink in the fridge. That's the type of person he was till the very end.
Do you think that openness and that trust ended up being something that someone took advantage of?
Unfortunately, somebody came knocking at his door, which unfortunately, I understand that that's how it happened.
That knock back in 2017 was from door-to-door salespeople working with a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning company called Consumers Choice Comfort Services. Lamel was living alone at the time, and he had dementia.
What happened when they came to his door?
He let them in with open arms and chatted with them and tried to get to know them. And I believe they took advantage of his spirit and his kindness.
They sold Lamel a water softener, something Diana says he didn't need because the quality of water where he was living in Brampton was fine.
It was not fair, is what we thought. They totally took advantage. On the paperwork, you can see a squiggly, shaky signature of my dad.
That squiggly signature approved a contract for $59.99 a month plus HST. Doesn't sound like much, but on a 10-year term, that would cost him over $8,000 for equipment he could have bought at the store for less than $1,000.
It was all for money. That's it. Profit, profit, profit.
After mounting complaints of seniors being taken advantage of, Ontario banned door-to-door sales of many appliances in 2018, just a year after Lamel signed his contract.
Here's the water heater.
Yep, it's the whole setup, really.
The Pham family's ordeal began in 2015 with one of those knocks.
We had all of our own equipment down here before. They removed it. Water heater.
Yeah.
The furnace.
Peter's father, Nam, and his mother, Dung, were boat people who left Vietnam in the 70s after the war. They settled in Kitchener, Ontario.
My parents live here alone. Speak very little English. So they're very trusting people. It's just a Vietnamese thing. You let people in your home.
The company they let in was Ontario Consumers Home Services. Peter says the salesperson pressured his dad into getting a new furnace installed.
What did they say? Why don't you just tell me kind of the words that they used?
From what my father told me, they're like, this equipment is not good. You're on borrowed time where you're kind of, some of this stuff might malfunction very soon.
The furnace was just the beginning. They got hit up again and again, 4 times in 2 years. A furnace, a water softener, a water heater, then finally the big one, a new air conditioner.
They put a lot of fear into my father, and he was worried. Like he wanted to make sure that his house was in good working order. So they sold him on this air conditioning unit, which from what I've researched and what I've looked at, it was like $2,000–3,000 value.
But in reality, it was going to cost Peter's dad more than $18,000 in rental fees over a 15-year contract.
It wasn't worth the money. They sold him on just lies, basically.
3 different companies would sign up the FAMs for the HVAC installs.
There's Ontario Consumers, Simply Comfort. They keep changing their names. When you look at the forms, they all look exactly the same, right?
Yeah. Even the logos are similar.
Yeah.
We had a look at the corporate profiles of the 3 companies connected to the FAM's contracts: Ontario Consumers Home Services, Simply Comfort, and Crown Crest. It turns out they are all linked to the same web of companies known as the Simply Group. Even the company Consumers Choice Comfort Services, who rented Lamel Ricketts his water softener, is now tied to the Simply corporate umbrella.
Water softeners, carbon filters, HEPA filters, all kinds of things that most consumers may not even need.
Toronto lawyer Mohsen Sedig says he's seen many cases like the FAMs. He's now launched a class action lawsuit against the Simply Group.
When a particular consumer is identified as being prone to signing whatever they're given, it tends to balloon. The types of equipment that are installed, and they don't know that this is going to come to them at a very high price.
It was after signing up for the AC unit that alarm bells finally went off for Peter's dad. For all 4 of the pieces of equipment in total over the course of the contracts, it would have cost him over $37,000.
My father afterwards finally contacted myself and my sister. So we got more information. Basically, we were finding out it was kind of like a scam kind of thing.
At that point, Peter told his parents to stop paying for the air conditioner. He asked the company to return his parents' old equipment and take theirs back. They never did. After some back and forth with collections, the family sent a cease and desist letter to the company.
You thought that was it? You
That's it.
You thought it was over?
And this is from the lawyers. The lawyers sent this out. They didn't get a response back. They were like, okay, you guys, I think you're in the clear.
While burdened with guilt over the whole ordeal, Peter thought at least that was the end of it.
I was filled with regret, and myself, my sister, we both were like, I wish we would have been there for my dad and to help him out with that.
Peter blames that regret on Simply Group. But who's behind that group? At the top of the lawsuit against them is a man named Lawrence Krimker. The case alleges he's now profiteering from all of these HVAC contracts. In an affidavit sworn in the proposed class action suit against him, Krimker says that he had no personal involvement in any of the alleged conduct that the plaintiffs say is unlawful. We wanted to take a closer look at Krimker's connection to these companies.
My name is Lawrence Krimker, and I'm the CEO of Simply Green Home Services.
An old post shows him working at Ontario Consumer Home Services, one of the companies who later serviced the FAMs. The Simply Group website lists Crown Crest and Simply Comfort as part of their portfolio. Krimker is nowhere to be seen on the company's website, as he seems to now have become distanced from the company. But when we looked him up a few months ago, it was a different story. He was featured prominently as the Simply Group CEO and founder of their HVAC company, Simply Green Home Services.
Sometimes life throws you a curveball that you're not prepared for, and we understand that.
Simply Green sells financial flexibility to families like the FAMs during difficult times.
Instead of paying thousands of dollars up front for your HVAC equipment, you can simply sign up for a monthly subscription with a low monthly rate and pay for the equipment over time. Simply call today.
But when the Phams were thrown a curveball of their own, Peter says their long-term contracts only made things worse.
For the last couple of years, my father has really started the symptoms of dementia, and it's been building and building and building, and it's gotten to a point where like he really can't take care of himself anymore.
With his father's health declining, the plan was for his parents to sell their house and move in with his sister so she could help take care of them. They could never have predicted what happened next.
At that point, that's when we find out there's a lien on the house. And we're like, what is this? Like, we're about to sell the house. Like, we have to like help our parents. We have to save our parents. And there's this giant lien on the house. And we're like, where the hell is this coming from?
What the Phams discovered was something called a Notice of Security Interest, or for short, a NOSI. It's very similar to a lien. Here's how it works. When you rent equipment from a company, that company can legally register a NOSI on your house, essentially as collateral for the equipment you're renting. There's no limit to the dollar amount, and the company doesn't even have to tell you they're doing this. The stipulation can be buried in the fine print on the back of the contract. At the core of lawyer Mohsen Sedig's case against Crimker is the alleged use of predatory NOSIs against homeowners. The suit has not been certified to this point, nor have the allegations been tested in court. Crimker has sworn in legal documents that he's not responsible for deciding on terms included in any contracts or registering notices of security interest on title to customers' homes.
We are inundated with calls from consumers who are impacted by these practices. And speaking to them, you just feel the weight that they're carrying and the feeling of injustice that a lot of them have suffered. And often they just have no choice but to pay.
One of the calls for help Sedig received was from Diana Ricketts. She says her dad, Lamel, unknowingly agreed to a NOSI being placed on his house after signing a contract for a water softener. Diana and the rest of her family only learned of the NOSI after he passed away.
What was that like for you to get that surprise?
It was heartbreaking. It really was. The last thing he wanted, his last will and testament, was that his 3 daughters inherit the house. My father left as a gift, and somebody held it hostage.
When we come back.
In the end, you're paying like $30,000 for something that's worth like $3,000 or $4,000.
Locked in a costly nightmare.
I had no choice. I paid it.
When W5 continues.
You want to go work on some of these things? Yeah.
74-year-old Elaine Burke moved into this apartment in St. Catharines, Ontario a few years ago so she could be close to her daughter, Sarah.
Somehow I tore the tendons in my left hip, and I had a 2-story, 1,691 square foot house, and I couldn't walk up and down the stairs anymore to go to the bedroom or the bathroom or anything.
Now, in a much more manageable space, Sarah helps take care of her mom, and Elaine helps her daughter with her arts and crafts projects.
You made this for me? I can wear a witch's hat?
Seriously? No, it's for the house.
Before moving to St. Catharines, Elaine lived in this Welland, Ontario home where she took care of her mom, Rhea. She had suffered a couple of heart attacks, and Elaine was worried about her comfort.
My furnace was getting old, and my central air unit had died already the previous summer, and it was really hot and uncomfortable for Mom, and because of her heart problems. So I wanted to do something.
Opportunity knocked. In 2014, a door-to-door salesperson showed up at her house offering a brand new furnace and air conditioner.
He said, we're doing door-to-door, you know, do you need a new central air? Well, that caught my ear because, yes, I did. And he had such a smooth line, and he was personable enough.
And so Elaine signed up to rent a new furnace and AC. The equipment would work just fine, but when Elaine's hip eventually gave out and with her mom's health declining, it was time to downsize.
As time went by, Mom's Alzheimer's was getting worse, and I was helping Mom get up and down those stairs, you know, because she was getting more and more frail.
But when Elaine went to sell her house in 2020, there was a holdup. Crown Crest had a $30,000 notice of security interest on her home.
I couldn't believe they were taking advantage of this situation, and I didn't understand it at all. And I tried calling Crown Crest a few times, no answer. So I had to borrow to pay that to them. So then I was able to sell the house.
Elaine had already paid $11,000 in fees. Her total tab in the end for a furnace and air conditioner, $41,000. That would have only cost her around $6,000 had she bought it outright.
If I could come face to face, I'd punch one of them. But I had no choice, I paid it.
Simply Green says part of their costs are for the peace of mind that comes along with free repairs should anything go wrong.
And they propose to give you customer service and peace of mind. Crown Crest, Simply Green, Green Planet. How about Poop Turd Planet? How about that? That's what they are. Shits.
After hearing these stories from people like Elaine and others, we wondered ourselves, how easy is it to place a notice of security interest on someone's home? To find out, our producer Joseph and I decided to do it ourselves on my house.
Okay, so what have you got here?
So I went and I bought this smart thermostat at the store. It costs about $130. Once I install it in your home, you're gonna rent it from me. Then I can go and put a notice of security interest on your house because I've installed this little guy. I'm just gonna literally stick this thermostat to your wall. I don't even have to install it properly. Some companies, they just leave the equipment and still place a NOSI on people's homes. So I've got some double-sided tape. I'm gonna stick this thermostat to your wall, and then boom, I'll have been able to place a NOSI on your home.
Can't believe that's as easy as it is.
And there you go, now the thermostat's installed.
Lawyer Mohsin Sedek has spent plenty of time trying to get NOSIs removed for his clients. We asked him to help us register the one we're putting on my house.
It just requires filling out a handful of forms that we can do probably in a couple of minutes. And we can pick any number that you want.
The actual cost of the thermostat was about $130. So we could demonstrate the ease of changing the consideration to whatever we want by picking 10 times that, $1,300.
Anything you want.
Okay. So even though you're putting my address in there, nothing's gonna notify me of what we're doing right now.
No, you don't know. The consumer doesn't know what's happening.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes to register it. And click sign.
Okay.
And there you go.
And that's all it took.
That's all it took.
That was astonishingly easy.
Yes, it is easy, unfortunately.
We made sure Mohsin canceled the NOSI on my house before we left his office. For most people who are hit with the shock of having to remove a NOSI, it's a much more painful process.
Like, what can we do? We're stuck in a rock and a hard place, honestly.
Simply Green is now asking the FAMs for over $31,000 to remove the NOSI on their house.
You did stop the payments for the equipment. Do you think that this company's entitled to some money?
A little bit of money, just because they did provide us with equipment, so we're totally fine with paying that off or anything like that, but what they're asking for is ridiculous. In the end, you're paying like $30,000 for something that's worth like $3,000 or $4,000, and that's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
After listing their house for sale, the Pham family has had to take it off the market for over a year as they fought to get the NOSI removed.
We need to get my father out of here, so we have to bite the bullet and pay it out at this point and get my father to like a safe place, and then from there we'll do what we can to like fight it, or at least get the awareness out that others can fight it.
And there is no shortage of other people who may want to fight it. Documents filed by Simply Group in the class action lawsuit have revealed there may be as many as 40,000 Ontarians who owe NOSIs to them.
You've got tens of thousands of customers, each of them having tens of thousands of dollars assigned to a property through a NOSI. When you add it all up, how much money is really at stake here?
When you average that and multiply it, you'll see what numbers we're talking about. So it's a very lucrative industry.
Could we be looking at millions, tens of millions?
Absolutely, yes.
According to property records, Lawrence Krimker is living a lucrative life. He purchased this 5-bedroom, 8-bathroom mansion for over $12 million in March of 2023. And this home for $3.4 million less than a month later. Then, in the summer, a bundle of his corporate portfolio sold for an estimated $175 to $225 million. Over the years, Krimker has curated a pristine philanthropic image to go along with his business successes. Pictures of him sleeping on the street for the homeless, company food and clothing campaigns, the company website boasting, "We sleep well at night knowing that we serve our customers the very best way we can every single day."
If they were here, I'd call them what they are, unscrupulous bastards. They don't lose sleep at night because they don't have financial worries. What kind of philanthropy are they doing? Charge the customers you've rooked less and give some of the money back. That's philanthropic, because instead you've got seniors going hungry.
I felt horrible knowing that these were usually older people that they were targeting.
This former employee had an inside look into Simply's operations. We concealed their identity because of a wide-ranging non-disclosure agreement. They say all that mattered to Simply Group was locking in sales at any cost.
We were told not to say certain things.
What kind of things were they telling you to say and to not say?
The grace period, if you change your mind, you can give us a call back. We can cancel it, no problem. I was told not to say that.
Because it would give a customer a way out.
Exactly.
The former employee says they wanted to do this interview to help stop companies like Lawrence Krimker's from putting abusive no-sees on people's homes.
If you had Lawrence Krimker now, here, what would you tell him?
Why are you deceiving old people? Why are you not being clear and concise with information that you should be telling to consumers? It's in the fine print, but why do you think it's not important to be clear and upfront with them?
I can't believe I was duped and roped into this so easily. I feel so stupid. I can't believe they sucked me in. They should be ashamed to look themselves in the mirror. They really should.
Coming up.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with economy, money, and greed.
Signing on for more than you thought.
There's just a couple questions that we have.
I have to leave or I'm gonna have to call security.
When W5 continues.
Most of us rely on HVAC equipment. Our furnace heats us up in the winter. Our air conditioning keeps us cool in the summer. But for tens of thousands of Ontario HVAC customers, this reliance may have left them open to aggressive door-to-door sales tactics and exploitative financial agreements.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with economy, money, and greed.
Mike Capin is an instructor and coordinator of the HVAC program at Fanshawe College's Oxford campus. He's seen the often predatory nature of the business firsthand.
When I was subcontracting, I actually left the contracting gig because they were forcing everybody to upsell unnecessarily.
Part of his curriculum now is teaching students to be honest and ethical.
What do you think of when you hear about these contractors that sell people things they don't need, that upsell to the tune of thousands of dollars to these homeowners, who may not know any better?
Well, it's frustrating, for sure, because it makes us all look bad, and we're not all bad. It's unfortunate for homeowners that get duped into buying equipment or services that they don't need.
While Capin points out that most in the industry are honest operators, profit can motivate others to cross a line.
If you're working on commission, because a lot of it was per job, you would get paid per job, and if you upsold, you'd get more money. So there's an incentive there to upsell.
So there's a lot of pressure on the people on the ground to sell people what they don't even need.
What they don't particularly need.
Now, a proposed class action lawsuit in Ontario alleges that Simply Group CEO Lawrence Krimker's businesses are taking advantage of vulnerable HVAC customers.
We accelerate by challenging the conventional way that Canadians think about and consume their energy.
On the surface, life seems picture perfect for Krimker, a mansion in Toronto's prestigious Forest Hill neighborhood, a second multi-million-dollar Toronto home. In 2021, he was lauded as the Ernst & Young Ontario Program Entrepreneur of the Year, cutting checks for charity. But Krimker and his companies have run into some trouble over the years. In 2020, Consumer Protection BC found Simply Green had contravened rules against deceiving customers, resulting in a direct sales prohibition which is still ongoing. In Ontario, Consumer Protection Act records show Krimker has 4 ongoing charges against him in his director role with Simply Green and Crown Crest for failing to take reasonable care as a director. W5 made several interview requests to Lawrence Krimker to discuss his company's no-see practices. He didn't respond by deadline. So we tried to get a hold of him in person at his Forest Hill mansion. No answer there. We went knocking at his other property, but no luck there either. Maybe we'd find him at the Simply Group office?
Hi there, John Woodward from CTV's W5. We're hoping to speak to Mr. Krimker if he's in.
He's not here.
Is there somebody that in a management position here at all?
We wanted to get answers from somebody at Simply Group about the allegations that their company is exploiting customers.
So there's actually no one here to talk to you right now, and you're not allowed to photograph or video on our business premises.
What we do, we're really here to ask just a couple questions about the no-sees and the logic behind putting them on vulnerable people's homes.
I'm sorry.
There's just a couple questions that we have.
I'm sure there's an official way for you to request.
Yep, we've tried that many times.
You have to leave, or I'm gonna have to call security.
It's just some questions that we have.
Where is Lawrence? Can you please delete the video that you're taking?
Krimker was nowhere to be found. Apparently, he hasn't been seen at the office in months. In a follow-up email, the company wrote that Lawrence Krimker is no longer with Simply Green, adding, "We firmly believe in serving our customers with transparency, accountability, and compliance with industry standards in all of our practices." Mo Synthetic says the Ontario government needs to step in and do a better job of stopping people from abusing the no-see process.
I believe firm regulatory action is required that we haven't seen yet.
What should the government do about this?
They should be cracking down on these practices, changing the law and actually enforcing it. Enforcement is one of the most important weaknesses of the system we have, and the government is really nowhere to be found.
The Ministry of Public and Business Service Delivery is responsible for consumer protection in Ontario. We requested an interview with Todd McCarthy, the minister in charge, but were turned down. A spokesperson from his office writing, "We do not have availability for an interview at this time." This former Simply Group worker says they tried helping customers after they learned no-sees were being placed on clients' homes.
We are given a script and we have to follow that script. But I tried deviating from the script and really letting customers know what they were getting themselves into.
You were warning them.
I was warning them.
What impact did that have?
If people were notified that a nosy was being put on their home, no one would buy into their scam.
Diana Ricketts says Krimker's company, Crown Crest, tried to charge her family $10,000 to lift the no-see on her dad's house so her family could sell it after he passed away. So she fought Crown Crest herself, eventually settling on a $4,000 buyout after a 9-month battle, allowing her to eventually sell the house.
It's unfortunate that it took a company to come to this point and was able to get away with ripping off so many people. Where's the government?
Through her fight with Crown Crest, Diana discovered something that haunts her to this day. Because he was over 75 years old, her father, Lamel Ricketts, needed a co-signer to approve the water softener contract. Alongside her dad's signature is one of a man named Conrad Ricketts.
My dad has no living male relative.
You don't know anybody named Conrad Ricketts?
Not a single soul.
Diana says the Conrad Ricketts signature is a forgery. But it wasn't just a second signature that this so-called Conrad provided. He also authorized the deal when Lamel got a customer service call to approve the contract.
Hello?
Hi, Mr. Ricketts?
That's my name, ma'am.
W5 obtained a copy of the recording from the class action file.
And to confirm, you signed the rental application provided by the agent today?
Run that by me again?
Did you sign the rental application provided by the agent today?
Yeah.
Am I able to speak with your co-op today? I believe his name is Conrad.
The man known as Conrad is about to take over authority from Lamel to approve the water softener contract.
We're just going to continue and finish this off with you just because of his age, and we just want to make sure that everything is understood.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm confirming
My
that.
name right now.
There would be no mention of a NOSI being placed on Lamel's house during the call, and Diana says Crown Crest would never confirm who exactly Conrad was.
When I hear that, it shouldn't be the only recording I have of my dad's voice. This is the only way I can hear my dad's voice, is when he's about to get ripped off. That shouldn't be the only recording I have.
It's heartbreaking.
And the people responsible haven't come to their justice. I need justice. My family needs justice. My father from the grave needs justice.
Yet justice may have to wait for Diana and the other 40,000 potential Simply Group victims. In November 2023, Lawrence Krimker's companies began a financial restructuring. Lawyer Mohsin Sedek says it's an attempt to avoid a potential large payout in the class action suit.
The individuals running them often, register new companies, you just move on to other companies to evade liability. You can expect that. A lot of them are on the consumer beware list, but is there enforcement happening beyond that? I highly doubt it.
It's a shell game.
Yes.
It may be a game for Lawrence Krimker and Simply Group, but for Diana Ricketts and her family, it's anything but.
It's not just a house. It's not just a material thing. You took advantage of a senior citizen who's a great man. How can they get away with it? And they're still in business. They're still operating. How many other people they're gonna rip off before somebody stops them?
In 2023, the province of Ontario consulted the public and businesses trying to find ways to protect unsuspecting homeowners. The results of those public consultations have not been made public.